In the meantime, some new information on Iran's nuclear program. The UN releasing the results of a years-long investigation concluding that Tehran did indeed work on developing nuclear weapons despite its repeated and consistent denials. Mark Dubowitz is joining us, Executive Director at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Mark, nice to have you. The Associated Press says this: no previous IAEA report has so clearly linked Iran's past nuclear work to weapons development. What's the significance of this?
Well, Jenna, what's significant is that the IAEA is coming out in very clear terms and saying that Iran has lied about its nuclear weaponization work, that Iran was actually developing nuclear weapons in a formal way up until 2003, that those activities continued at least until 2009. And it also completely undercuts the Iranian narrative that they were never working on nuclear weapons, and that the supreme leader actually had some fatwa prohibiting nuclear weapons. So clearly the Iranians are lying, but they're about to get hundreds of billions of dollars in sanctions relief as a result of this deal.
Interesting, the State Department spokesman came out and said, well, this report is consistent with what we've long assessed, that Iran had a nuclear weapons program that was halted in 2003. But I noticed you said that the program continued until 2009. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Right, so that the UN is actually saying that Iran had a organized, formal nuclear weaponization program till 2003. But then actually after the U.S. invasion of Iraq, the Iranians were so afraid that they were next that they broke up the structured program, and they had an unstructured program where they continued nuclear weaponization activities at least until 2009 and potentially beyond. And we don't know, because the IAEA is also saying that Iran was completely non-cooperative. They actually were stonewalling the IAEA, where they were not answering questions. And so there may be activities that even extended beyond 2009, but certainly this undercuts the administration claim that these activities stopped in 2003.
Now, don't we have to approve, or a group has to approve of the results of this investigation for the nuclear deal to move forward?
Jenna, it's unbelievable, but the answer is no. The way that the administration negotiated this deal, all the Iranians had to do was, quote unquote, answer some questions, and then the IAEA is required to issue a report December 15th. The administration is requesting that the IAEA close the file on Iran's weaponization activities, and then all the sanctions relief is going to be given as long as the Iranians disassemble some of their centrifuges and send out some of their low-enriched uranium. Hundreds of billions of dollars are going to flow to a leading state-sponsored terrorism that the IAEA has confirmed has lied about its nuclear.
And just again, to get clarity, we're depending once again on the Iranians to uphold certain parts of the deal that we've worked out, trusting them rather than an outside agency over the terms of this deal, which extend, well, 5, 10, 15 years into the future.
Well, that's right. I mean, the problem now is that, the administration has said that they've had perfect knowledge about the past, and I guess a lot of intelligence officials sort of rolled their eyes when Secretary Kerry said that. The reality is that we often don't have good information about what the Iranians and other hard regimes are doing. And now looking forward, we're going to have to try and verify and enforce a deal against a regime that is engaged in decades of nuclear mendacity and continues to lie about its weaponization activities. It certainly doesn't suggest a good development for the future in our ability to enforce this deal.
Just real quick, Mark, can anything be done with these results, which are new? Again, if you look at the Associated Press and where they characterize it, saying it's the most straightforward report we've had as far as the actual nuclear weapons program, can anything change?
Congress needs to act. I mean, lawmakers need to pass legislation that makes it very clear that they do not believe that the file on Iran's nuclear weaponization activities is closed and that it will remain open. And as a result of that, it will lay the predicate for future action under a future president for a U.S. government to move forward vigorously in holding Iran's feet to the fire. We can't trust this regime, and we now know that this regime is engaged in, as I said, lying and obfuscation of an enormous scale on a most potent and deadly program.
Interesting. As you're talking, we're showing on our screen the Iranians' perspective, which is that, well, this report just confirms that our program was very peaceful, which is not exactly the way that it is portraying it. Mark, great to have you on the program. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Jenna.